How is Brainsway different from standard TMS treatments?
What's called rTMS or repetitive TMS actually really applies to Brainsway TMS because it's repetitive too. But the first TMS system received FDA approval in 2008, and Brainsway received its first FDA approval in 2013, and that was for treatment-resistant depression. Brainsway technology is different than other types of TMS in that it's the design itself results in a deeper penetration of the energy from the electromagnetic field. You know, the question I'm often asked is, well, what difference does that make, the penetration? That's a fair question. The penetration, it's about half the time. It's 19 minutes. It's about twice as long for some of the other treatments. We also now have head-to-head trials comparing the dTMS system to what's called rTMS in terms of outcomes, and we see that, you know, deep does matter. There's a 23% difference in outcomes when we're using validated tools. So it's a newer technology, and the Brainsway system also has now 5 FDA approvals. It's the only one that's FDA approved for obsessive compulsive disorder, which is really significant because I see that a lot of people believe they're getting TMS for obsessive compulsive disorder, and they come to us. They thought they got TMS for obsessive compulsive disorder, and they paid out of pocket for a TMS treatment. It wasn't the Brainsway system. It's important to know and to ask always when you're going to consider TMS, is this system FDA approved? What is the FDA indication for it? Because insurance plans cover most evidence-based procedures and treatments, including evidence-based TMS for obsessive compulsive disorder and treatment-resistant depression if it's the right system. So the Brainsway system is the only one that's approved for obsessive compulsive disorder. There's an H7 coil, which we have, and an H1 coil. H1 coils for treatment-resistant depression. We're also able to provide treatment using something called theta burst technology, which a lot of people have heard about through a big study that came out at Stanford called the SAINT protocol. The H7 coil is approved for obsessive compulsive disorder and anxious depression. We also have a new FDA approval with the H1 coil for depression in people over 65. So it's the only TMS treatment that's approved for people over 65. And actually Medicare does cover it because for people who qualify, because it is an evidence-based treatment. And that's really important no matter where you go or who you get treatment from, is if something is purely out of pocket and it is not going to go through insurance or Medicare, you need to ask why. Is it not FDA approved? Is it not evidence-based? It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the procedure, you shouldn't consider it, but you should always try to do research into, are there other ways in which this particular procedure is covered, and is that because that is an evidence-based way or system? When something is, in particular, a machine that you're going to put your head under, you want FDA approval because there are standards in terms of safety, etc. You know, we can't submit to insurance for procedures that are not utilizing FDA approved systems, and that's really important for transparency. And not only FDA approved, but FDA approved for a particular diagnosis, so that's also really important.